That was a waste of time. I could have written that. Added some nudie pictures and a couple of car chases. Now that was the real Armageddon, although that was mostly because of Navigator Mortis. Still, history tends to favour the so-called heroes. I mean, this book fails to mention the time when I joined the Orcs and cleared several kilometres of trench of the Steel Legion because they insisted on using firearms and tactics. Oh! So today we're going to be looking at a modern training interactive cassette used by the Imperium to see how well they trained their commanders based on the events of the Second War of Armageddon.
Gotcha, you Martian git.
You'll be in any boy, girl or commissar's lice-riddled pants by saying I love Armageddon faster than a Skitari Ike and stick your servo dick in a Titan on Toaster Sex Sunday. And I should know, that was the reason the repairs on my ship were delayed all throughout March. To be fair though, they were some saucy looking toasters. My original point was that Armageddon was the battleground for all the family. Virus bombs, skirmishes, intense melee battles, infiltration, tactics, melee, Astartes mortals, and melee all appeared in the Second War for Armageddon. I could go into all 69 wars for Armageddon, which did happen, honestly. But the second was my favourite and the focus of this broadcast, but the 69th was the second best because, well, even 40,000 years later, that number is still pretty funny. And many a poem, play, song, story and porno was made soon after that war given how rich in material it is. Being a remembrancer in those times was profitable stuff. Stories of mass murder, political sabotage, heresy, destruction, gross incompetence, wastes of valuable resources and melee were in the thousands. I can't stress enough just how brilliant it was! The best thing? This game doesn't miss any of those details. Hell, you're fighting before the war even begins, in the boots of a new would-be commander. During training, you'll receive broadcasts from Overlord Hermann von Straub telling you of a seemingly vacant vessel floating in Armageddon's orbit. You'll be very thoroughly trained before you go against the Orcs, and while you're armed with all the info you'll need to make an informed choice in your next moves, it's easy to get lost. But there's more on that later though, I'm not done gushing over the story yet! Anyone who's read Codex Armageddon until they're shedding tears of spunk will recognise how accurately the story is told. True, this several-year war is boiled down to 2 pages in the book and the rest is history. Well, DLC. But it hits all the key notes without screaming fan service. I mean, if Slithering Games want to make a DLC about my 66 battles on Armageddon and call the bundle blatant fan wankery, they're more than welcome to. The game has everything from the Legio Metallica, which I had nothing to do with the naming of, to Princeps Mannheim calling von Straub, and I quote, the greatest waste of flesh and bone born in the last 500 years. None of Yarek's accomplishments or Garskull Magorek Thracker's daring attacks go missed either. This is made all the better where dialogue choices allow you to be part of different battles, and if you know your 40k lore, you'll know what the next objective will be.
It's at this point that I must explain how this device of the Imperium is used, but I must warn anyone who's in the Adeptus Videogamus who is employing these instructions will end up with me employing my boot to vacate their asses! Now let me tell you how to kill an orc! You slice them up good and proper, cause guns are for blue vaginal-faced xenos who chop people's bollocks off! And if there's anyone taking any testes for trophies in this galaxy, it's me!
He's completely tonto.
I won't pretend I know how to play Armageddon properly, but what I am doing is efficient. Mostly. Loads of your troops will be massacred, and the limit of how many can be on the field means sacrifices and hard choices must be made. You'll want your named units with loads of XP that wreck the opposition to stay alive and see the end of the campaign, but Armageddon is thirsty for blood and guts, and it hungers for your own especially. This won't be a problem for those experienced with Panzer Corps and Panzer General who won't have to face the woe of losing their best fighters. Such players were hardened by much more primitive weapons and vehicles. Now, this game is very much the same, using the same turn-based strategy elements and a much more modern story and up-to-date army list. The first thing you have to accept is that casualties are inevitable and many soldiers are only fated to live for but a few turns. This is made absolutely clear to players new to this series of expensive war games, as they may not appreciate how many factors there are to winning and losing. It's overwhelming how much you have to consider before purchasing the plethora of units made available, much less using them. While someone like me just wants to know how much of a beating something can give and take, other factors allow advanced players to spend ages figuring out their next turn. Range, morale, volleys, terrain management, armor, speed and penetration, and just what kind of weapons a unit is equipped with play a ginormous part in striking critical hits or getting out of a jam. Not that it matters to me. With the sword and shield and iron heel, I love to kill, I love to kill, I love the taste of orcish blood, squirm in green-black gore. I'm not sure where that came from. I do apologise.
He's completely told. Fine. That's enough of that. 1, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 80, 2.
Your units may disagree with my idea of tactics, so even if you're Nakathraka, your units may be horrified at the loss of their weaker, cowardly friends. As if I give 2 shakes of a dead Squiggoth's cock. I didn't earn my fleet of rogue trader ships by sparing captains and admirals for not ramming our foes into a zillion tiny pieces. But the game insists that a loss of morale reduces a soldier's accuracy and effectiveness with defense. Your troops can take a turn to either recover morale, health, or boost their attack power, the latter two requiring a sacrifice of experience points. The fact they're not using that turn to fight in glorious melee combat disgusts me, but to sit down and take in the sights? Why, let's not just have a picnic! The only picnicking you'll be doing is in the minefields of Armageddon, so stop fannying about! Anyway, as children weep and widows wail, our education systems fail and we hide our guilt by building jails. Oh wait, sorry, that doesn't happen here. In Armageddon there is no base building or research, it's just soldiers being deployed and bought with the currency of requisition. You start each mission with a set amount and troops from previous missions carry over along with their XP. If you're not an incompetent boob and teach your troops how to fight in melee, you won't need to spend requisition. Requisition's a rubbish currency anyway. In the Adaptus video gaems you can buy out with teeth, kebab, trap booty, relics of ancient Terran vidya games and loyalist dog tags. This system takes me back to Hogs of War, and while you'll be shocked for saying Armageddon has a more forgiving and arguably better system than that game, you're not far wrong.
Oh, cool!
Knowing you can still have the same troops with cleaner uniforms is a relief, but later the Space Marines come along and that becomes a non-issue. They have loads of XP to begin with and are pretty much good at everything, except fighting burner boys and melee. Power armoured pansies, the lot of them! Wankers.
Is the Emperor's Statesman deal... In Blood and Lies, it's time to listen to the stifled cries of 100 million wasted lives already gone before.
So march and die, defecate the spoiler lie, cheat, dissemble, preach and spy, my orders to you all. Laugh and cry, laugh as you poke out their eye, kick their bullets to the sky, with tears till they fall.
Armageddon was a toxic, smog-belching volcanic mess of jungles, cracked earth, rivers of blood and lakes of steaming urine, and it was absolutely marvellous. It's all beaches, palm trees, clean water and pina coladas now with it being a holiday resort, but I'm still nostalgic of my old head-stomping grounds. And I can come back to this treacherous device of the Imperium to explore my glory days in this orc-infested hellhole as many times as I like. The graphical fidelity leaves much to be desired, with environments and character models looking only slightly better than those in Chaos Gate, a much older, less important game about tin men fighting one another. Still, the aesthetic is perfect and there's real effort put into the models' details, there's no shortage of infantry and vehicles to gawk at, and the DLC offers its own changes and unique looks. But the animation is cack, in its own charming way. It's mostly because there is none, save for units gliding cleanly across tiles, attacking with very impressive particle effects. The bellowing clouds of smoke, gouts of flame and lashing lasguns look and sound like they're from the apocalypse scenes in Terminator 2. Speaking of feelings of total despair, the sound design is brilliant. From the subtle soundtrack to the new turn chime, progress feels daunting, constantly having you doubt actions you can't undo. But it's not the job of the commander to undo. It's their job to kill cowards who don't fight in melee! To conclude this part of the broadcast, the voice acting is also spectacular, but you'd expect nothing less from Warhammer 40k.
Yet again, you disappoint me, Commander.
Oh, shut up, you tart!
I tell you, we are doomed, my friends. Our time has come. Our time has come. We live within a charnel house, rotten to the core. We glorify lust, greed and pain. We drown our hopes in poison rain. We point the finger and shift the blood. And ambition makes us whores. So with that said, it's time to give you my final thoughts.
Armageddon is pretty hard to recommend, and it's not just because it's a stolen STC from the vaults of that bonus level in Spyro the Dragon. Nasty's Loot, that was the one. The game is as easy or hard, simple or deep as you make it, if you want to look at every single stat, weapon and pour over codex as you can, but the game will also appeal to real soldiers who just get on with the job and don't arse about. There isn't much encouragement to play the game in a more complicated way unless you're on difficulties higher than normal. Oddly enough, it's the early game, pre-Space Marine arrival, where the reliance of stats is more noticeable, and further on the Planetary Defense Forces and Hive Militia play less of a critical role to your success. Except in the 30-second war for Armageddon, the 19th Bandicoot Commando Squad pushed back 92 billion Space Marines in a single afternoon. Okay, so the number's off a bit. I mean, I have the real number tallied on my wall, but history's recorded by the heroes, right? Even if the gameplay you've seen and the things I've said are appealing, the price is pretty high. There's a lot of content and even more replay value for tactical nuts, fair enough. But £22 as well as the Space Hulk load of DLC at such a great cost, I don't blame anyone for thinking it's too rich for their blood, even in a sale. For educational purposes, fan wankery and a jolly good time killing orcs, Armageddon is fist fantastic! And for the slaying of all the Xenos racers and a couple of Umis, you'll want Commissar Johnbonne's fist-fantastic quest for the golden tray of Nurglich Kebab. That's based on the 26th War of Armageddon, and it's available on fist-fantastic ancient games.
That's it. It's perfect.
What the hell's going on with this shit? Until the next time, I'm Commissar Johnbonne in #1 source for #2 games. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think it's time to end this year with a bang. Mortis! Detonate the fireworks on Gimmemorah!
Commissar, just to be sure, what fireworks are you referring to?
You know, all those rockets that looked like Life Eater missiles.
No, those weren't Life Eaters. Those were, what were they now? Lupine Death Strike missiles. I think they're used by some kind of a Star Age chapter. Probably the Emperor's Children.
Mortis. Look out the window. Whatever the bloody hell we call them. Those are the fireworks I'm referring to! So it was true. The Book of Martyrhead was telling us all along that the Emperor's children were in trouble! Sex, death, torture, false romance, whoop and howl, you have no chance, burn and rise no more. Did the Word of Martyrhead not say? Yes, it did. Now tell me, Mortis, what burns and rises again? A phoenix. No, a Phoenician. No, more specifically, the Phoenician. The Primarch of the Emperor's children. Now tell me, Mortis, again. Who occupied Gimmemorah of all people? Too late! It was the Emperor's children. The Word of Martyrhead also warns about the wolf. The wolf is at our door. The sons of Rus were there. All along, they were the ones who planted the missiles. Mortis, set course for Fenris!
Fine. That's enough of that.